up. We got stable connection. Great. Awesome. Hello there. I'm Enviro Boy. This is my channel. And I'm here. I'm 15 minutes late. What else is new? I don't have a good excuse. It's 100% just that I was practicing my guitar and I was kind of lost in the music and I didn't realize what time it was. My bad. My bad, y'all. But we're here. We're here, and it's I don't know. I'm in a good mood today. I'm in a really good mood today. It's like sunny, and like it's sunny, but not, you know, summer hot sunny. It's like fall is starting to creep in a little bit. Like the temperature still creeps up by 3 or 4 o'clock around here when it's when we've had the primary sun before things start to cool off for the evening. But overall throughout the day we're like starting to get those first little bits of fall showing up here. So then fall is easily my favorite time of year. I'm a big fan of fall, and it makes me just feel mellow and happy to know that beautiful colors and perfect shorts and a sweatshirt weather as I'm wearing right now is like here or around the corner depending on what the specific day is. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I'm in a good place. I'm happy. Let's do some writing. Boom. There we go. All right. So last time we finished off our first dungeon for this campaign. One of 10 main story dungeons plus however many other big, bad, fun, exciting, in-depth side mission dungeons we wanted to add. And that's undecided at the moment. That's kind of the final thing where I try to add one per level for players just to it fills out the world a little bit. It gives some either red herrings or just alternate ideas of things that people can do if that's what they want. So it just adds a little bit of padding. I don't know if I want to say padding. Padding makes it sound pointless. It's not pointless. It adds a bit more substance, I guess is the better word I'm looking for. But that's always kind of the last thing, because I like to make sure that I use all my best ideas on the main story ones, the ones that the players will 100% be going throughout the course of this campaign that we're writing. And then just any other sort of fringe ideas, alternate forms of ideas that I've already done. All that kind of stuff can sort of filter it and fill in the blanks there. So anyway, with that explanation out of the way that no one asked for, we finished our first dungeon and we were going to start the second one. And we kind of talked a little about the sort of, we didn't really actually do anything. We just kind of put the basic stuff here. We haven't talked about setting or anything like that here. Now, I don't know that there's necessarily going to be a whole lot. Let me open up our world map here, or our region map, I should say. Let's see here. Come on. Hey, how's it going? It's the Wicked Smart Dragon. This isn't your everyday, ordinary C student dragon. The Wicked Smart one is here. How's it going? Glad to see you here. So here's our region, right? And so we've done our there we go. We've done our first dungeon, which is our little cave here. Hell yeah, that's the only way to say it. That's the only way to properly pronounce it. When I don't know. Anyway, sorry. I don't mean to make fun of your name. I see that immediately, and I think that it's meant to be a compliment. But now that I'm thinking about it, I realize it could be a bit of a butthead move. Anywho, I am glad you're here. So we've got our oh, okay, so you are. So you know exactly what I'm talking about then. Golly. It's perfect. I'm preaching to the choir. So we had our little cave here. We got a nice little cave. And now we're working on essentially the journey to get to our little runt tribe here, which is like the runty giants, the giants that were outcasts from the other giant tribes that are around here, which we might need to add at some point in time. onto the map. But for now, we've got to add the pathway, the journey for them to get there. And the first thing I'm thinking of is I'm trying to decide if I want to, like, the thing that can be kind of confusing and tricky to figure out with all of these types of things is how much pathway and hints do I want to give players about where they're going to go at any point in time. Like, do I want to actually put a pathway there, or do I want to leave it blank and let them look at the map and, like, kind of have that sense of, like, oh, we need to try and carve a path to these guys. You know, that's kind of the challenge there. And I mean, the thing of it is, too, is it is completely arbitrary because it's just visual for the map. And I tend to lean on not adding a whole lot of these things. If it's not an established pathway, even if it's an old abandoned one, if there's no established pathway that was ever there, then don't put it in there, is sort of my general principle, my philosophy on it all. So, why is this thing orange? It's just because it's being weird. Okay, sorry, distracted. So what I'll probably end up doing is including pathways that kind of lead through here, maybe to the forest and everything, and like players can choose to follow those to a degree. So is this a program app? But yeah, I'm using Wonderdraft is the program, and it's by the same people who do Dungeon Draft, which is the program that I like to use to make the actual interactive dungeon maps. And the reason I do them is because they both play very nice with the virtual tabletop program Foundry that I like to use to run my online games with my friends. So they play nice, and they make beautiful interactive environments online rather than it just kind of being like a JPEG that's up there, which is always my personal preference, to have that sort of fun, adventure-y, interactive type of map. It makes it a bit more, I don't know, it makes it a bit more fun. Almost to the point of me, like, preferring to use that to a hand-drawn battle map when we do meet up in person, but I digress from that. So, yeah, so it becomes kind of a difficult decision, because the other thing about it, too, is you don't want the map to get too cluttered, and again, we don't want to necessarily give players too many clues early on about what's what, right? We want to be able to give them the map, and really what ends up happening is I will make the map, like the final version of the map, where it's like if they've explored everything, I will kind of make that, and then I'll just like have that saved as the master copy, and like I'll save a JPEG of it and everything, and that's the one that I will look at. And then pretty typically what I'll do is I will delete as much of it as I need to, and then give stuff to players, and then, you know, and then just not save that one. Like, delete it, make a JPEG, give it to them, and then, you know, next time delete a little less, and just kind of keep doing that at various phases, usually every time they go back to the main city. So that's kind of what I do, and so then I've got to decide if I want to have the final version of the map include pathways that they would follow to these places. And it's kind of a tough one for me to figure out, because it kind of turns into what kind of aesthetic do I want to present to my players here. Hand drawing maps, stick figures, and all. That's I can hold my own with stick figures, so long as holding my own means we accept mediocrity and don't judge too harshly. My mother is an artist. She paints, and she's a wonderful painter. And I did not inherit the dexterity necessary to hand draw or paint anything of beauty. I did not inherit that form of creativity, unfortunately. So I rely on technology to help me out, because I've got vision. I can have the mental images. I've got a big imagination, but my hands just don't behave when I need them to. So here's what I'm gonna do. Actually, the obvious answer here is, well, let's experiment. Let's go ahead and try putting on a path here. And so I want to see. I want them to look a little different if it's just going to be like a walking path. And so I kind of want to include a walking path that goes along here and it like follows the river essentially. Because that's going to be the smartest way for the players to travel. And it's not like there's going to be an established like path there. But that'll be the route that they end up following. And so we can kind of do that. Nice, nice. Yeah, like I can't, I'm just like really not good at the, why am I struggling here? There we go. Struggling with all my hotkeys here. Yeah, like I can't draw. I have so much admiration for people who are capable of drawing and like making their visions become real on a page. Yeah, I am always so impressed by that. I don't know. Gushing aside. Okay, I don't like the way this looks. I immediately don't like the way this looks, but I like the idea, but I don't like the way that looks. I think I think I can get this to look something like what I'd want, though. I think I just have to be a bit more stubborn in how I do it, because I want it to just kind of follow along with the river here. So I just got to be a bit more attentive about following the river with the path and see what that looks like. A Barbie Barbarian. Oh my god, I love the concept of that. The Barbie-barian. Please tell me you call it the Barbie-barian. Can his attitude changed a little bit? No, that's rad. That's rad. That sounds hilarious, honestly. I think I think that's great. Yeah, you can absolutely share it if you want. I probably won't, like, if you mean like to put it on stream, I probably won't, because I'm trying to like keep progress going on like this project, so I'm not sitting on the same stuff forever. But if you wanted to share it in the Discord channel, and then I can like look at it. Yeah, okay, yeah. Like what you should do is you should put it in. I've got my Discord. I don't remember who's part of the Discord or not, but it's there. It's available, and you should put it there, so that way I can look at it at a later date. And I would love to see what you created with it. That sounds hilarious. Sounds absolutely hilarious. Shameless plug. I have a Discord. Everyone should join it. No, I'm just kidding. I put it there because people were requesting it. But I definitely am not sitting here trying to like peddle it or anything like that, because I'm not nearly as active on it as I should be. So, okay, so I do like the look of that better, where the path just kind of follows and it crosses the river. And so it shows the path that they're going to take there. I actually do like that. I like that a lot. Looks much better that way. So yeah. Okay, I like that. Perfect. Okay, yeah, we'll keep that. That's perfect. And actually, you know what the thing about that is like it's discreet enough that you hand this to players. They might not even really notice and see anything about that, but then they look in closer and it's like, oh yeah, look at that, that's good. So I think that's good. The one thing I do want to do though is I'm gonna change that point a little bit just because it looks kind of goofy and funky. Yeah, it looks better. There we go. Okay. So we got our little path there that they'll follow. That's perfect. And yeah, great. All right, so let's go back to our. Oops, hold up. Turn off this alarm. Ah, boy. Sorry, I have certain things that are time sensitive that I have to like respond to and everything. So I've set alarms so I can remember to handle that stuff. All right, there we go. Anywho, so now we got to talk a little bit about the settings. So for this one, this dungeon isn't really much of a dungeon at all. We're using the dungeon format to make it more of an adventure. But it's in reality, it's just sort of the final leg of the journey is what I'm thinking. Because I had initially thought that we could try and make oops, wrong one. Come here. We could make like a mountain pass type of dungeon out of it. But in the first place, that might get kind of repetitive because we've got a lot of mountain stuff going on there. And the other thing about it too is, as we can see, we're just not actually going through the mountain. The most sensible pathway is to follow the river because they're known to be kind of in this valley on the foothills of the mountains. And what it would be is when players need to go see this tribe. Hi, cat. My cat is very rambunctious today, and so she may run across the screen every now and then. She's a sweetheart, but she is absolutely full of energy today. Aren't you? Yeah. You're going to come disrupt everything? You're going to put your little butt on my keyboard? Oh, no, you're going to sit next to it. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you not sitting directly on my keyboard. You know I get irritated when you do that, which is why you do it all the time. Oh, boy. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a cat thing. They know exactly the right amount of buttons to press on you that, like, irritate you and force you to pay attention to them without being so disruptive that they get themselves kicked out. Yeah, see, now you're laying right there, and it's like she's like in the perfect place where she's not actively pressing any buttons right now, but if her tail flicks, she could press a button, which would just be wonderful. Anyway, so yeah, it doesn't. The whole journey isn't going to be a full-blown. Your cat gets herself kicked out. It's funny. That's funny. Yeah, my cat. She luckily has a fair bit of immunity from that. She's only got one eye. So hunting really isn't a thing for her. So there's no outdoors. Additionally, we live in an apartment complex, so it'd be very easy for other families to try and claim her. And or apartment managers to be upset about the cat roaming around, the alleged stray cat or whatever roaming around the apartment grounds. It wouldn't go over well around here. So, don't give her too much sympathy. She still reigns terror even with only one eye. She just doesn't do it on countertops because she can't see how far away they are to jump up on them. So, that's a beautiful thing about it. So let's see here. Hey, Gregor, how's it going? All right, let's see here. So we haven't come up with an overlord yet. So let's see here. So for the history of this thing, I want to. Let me see here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so for the history of this, there's not a whole lot of history to put because we're talking about just sort of like a mountain pass type of thing. But what I'm going to do is, there is a, because we need a reason for there to be an awareness of the, okay, this needs to go away so it stops confusing it. So we need an excuse for why the people of this town, which was just very recently set up, would understand that there's a reclusive tribe of, like, giant outcasts that live down here. Then we need a reason why they're there. And I think the best reason or the best excuse would be no, not trading because they're reclusive. They don't want to interact with them. In this world it's a post it's like a post calamity type of world. And so other than a few like very well guarded cities that are not this one, activity with the rest of the world is just not a thing because it's just too dangerous, generally speaking. And so the giants are, to the humanoids that would live in this type of city, the giants are part of that danger. And so this city was established not long ago as part of an effort to sort of reclaim part of the world. And so the giants wouldn't really, they don't have a trading relationship set up. But what I'm thinking it would be is, before they set up a village in the valley here, these guys might have occasionally done pilgrimages, over to the lake here for some reason or another, and we can kind of come up with that as we go. But we can do that, and there can be some sort of situation where it's like they came there and suddenly they found a new city there, and the people here were like, oh shit, there's like giants, and then the giants just kind of are like, no, we don't really want any of that, and then head back, right? And so they know that somewhere along here there's a non-violent tribe of the giants, which are really more of Goliaths, the way we've kind of altered the lore a little bit here for this homebrew. And so, like, that would give us our reason, and it would also give us an excuse to have a somewhat established pathway. Like, it'd be overgrown and unused, but it would still be a pathway that players could follow, right? And so it kind of gives us that you know, it's a little hand wavy, a little convenient, but it's fiction and we need to do that sometimes. So I think that's kind of the angle I'm going to take with it. So we'll say there is an old pathway that has been used by the outcast giants to travel between their tribe and so there's an old pathway that has been used by the outcast giants to travel between their tribe and the lake in the past. However, it has fallen to disuse since the arrival of the people of Novotroykladny. Hold on. Novotroykladny. That's how we spelled it, isn't it? Oh no, I had it right the first time. Dang it. Because it's right over here. This was how we did it. Alright, Novotroykladny. There it is. And that actually makes me realize I have it wrong up here. There we go. Alright. It's fallen to disuse since the arrival of the people of Novotroykladny in the valley. Early in the establishment of the city, the giants had appeared at the mountain foothills and were spotted by the townsfolk, but the giants, seeing the it's gonna flow better if we make that a period. The giants, seeing the activity, quickly turned around and haven't been seen since. Let's see here. So we can say this incident has led most to believe that this tribe of giants is relatively non-confrontational, but none have yet explored that theory for fear of being killed by giants. A reasonable fear in the world of D&D, to be perfectly honest. Let's see here. And what we can say here is, it's not really part of the history, but it's an important part of this dungeon. So when players receive knowledge or receive a clue that perhaps one of the keys is hidden in the mountains among the giant territory, the first thought is to see if communication with these giants can be established. Clearly, they have a pathway into the mountains carved and don't have interest in killing other humanoids. So perhaps they would be open to helping. And that's like, again, kind of hand wavy a little bit, kind of like, oh no, it just conveniently works out. But I mean, you know, we got to drive story in some way, shape, or form. And plus, it'll give that sense of apprehension for players too. Because the other option, really, I mean, and there is a certain logic to it too, because truthfully, like, the other option for players is to just start randomly going through the mountains, right? Whereas, like, if they have an opportunity to interact with people who live in the mountains or among the mountains that don't seem to be outwardly aggressive and have clearly established pathways through the mountains, probably a better way to start than just like, well, let's pick a mountain and let's start going, right? Because that just is not productive. So, oh, good. I'm glad. Okay, I'm glad it's not immediately a repulsive idea to everyone, because it does feel, like I say, it feels a little hand wavy to me. Not my best excuse or explanation for things, but you know, like I say, sometimes you get a little creative. The goal of this story, so this campaign, what's happening here is up north of here is where one of those established cities that I was talking about is. In fact, I can pull up the world map. So here is, once it loads up, it'll load up. Okay, here we go. So within this world, this whole campaign takes place just in this hex right here. Within this world, we have our city of Fosvik up here, which is one of the few established cities. You can see the cities around here. Everything that doesn't have a path, like any city that's not on this pathway, is pretty much lost to the insanity of the wilds at this point in time. So the dotted lines are established and guarded trade routes that the cities have worked hard to establish so that some trade can take place between the fortified cities. Now, as you can see, there's a long winding path for a lot of these cities to be able to trade. So what is happening is this city up here is making an effort to cut through the Golden Wind Plains and establish a trade route with this city right here. And so that's kind of that's like the reason for us being here. So what happens is they come down here, and there's a dragon who holds dominion over there's a dragon that holds dominion over the Golden Wind Plains here. And so the dragon sees like the humanoids starting to, you know, get bold and start, you know, doing their stuff out in the world again. And he's all like, oh no, not this again. I've seen what this happens. You know, these people, these dwarves and humans and all of them, they just rip everything to shreds. And these are my plains. I'm not gonna let them come in here. And so he confronts them and is all like, no, you can't do this. And they're all like, but we gotta do this. And so there's a bit of an impasse, and then what'll happen is, you know, that's kind of where the whole thing starts. The dragon is confronting, because the players are going to be part of the crew that is trying to map out and put together this route. And so the dragon comes down and is all like, no, don't do this. And they're like, well, maybe we can strike a deal. Or like, that's kind of, you know, I'll use other NPCs that are part of that expedition crew to sort of strike a deal and say, you know, is there something that we can do to prove to you that we want to be cooperative and that we want this to be amicable and good for everyone, but we need to establish this. And the dragon's all like, okay, you know what, there's a shrine that has a mirror that will show you any point in the past. If you get me access to this shrine, so that way I can look into the past to make sure that things you're doing have not been tried and failed in the past. Like, you know, 'cause the idea is like, let's make sure we learn from the past, so that way when you guys are moving forward, you don't make the same mistakes. And so he's all like, if you get me access to that shrine, then I'll let you pass. And so the shrine is protected by 4 keys, and it turns into, you know, a Zelda style. You gotta go to all the locations to get each part of the puzzle and then put it together for the final dungeon, is kind of what the campaign turns into. And so for this specific part up here, the keys are known to be hidden. There's one among the giants here. There's one inside the mountains among the Duergar. There's one among the drow that are living in this forest at this point. And then there's one, actually, the last one they're going to find is going to be, of course, the one that was under their nose the whole time. There's a cave by the lake right over here. And then the last part of it is the shrine is down here. They have to make their way to the shrine and then unlock it and do whatever they want. And, like, it's kind of written, I've kind of written it so that way they can either, like, have a reason to do it to be cooperative with the dragon, or if they want to be like, no, fuck you, dragon, we're going to get it for ourselves, and then they can do that. And the final boss is either going to be some sort of, like, hell demon thing that's, like, living in that shrine at the, you know, in the shrine down here, and it, like, gets awoken when they unlock it. Or if they're all confrontational and not friendly with the dragon, Then they'll get there and the dragon will be like, oh, fuck you. Like, this is my thing. And then they'll fight the dragon. So that's kind of the trajectory of the campaign that we're working on. And so we're working on just sort of the first step of them getting to this giant tribe here to try and see if they know anything about where the first key that they have a clue is. Because there's going to be a scholar in the city that, like, the players can go back and be like, okay, here's what we need. Do you know anything about the lore of the world? Do you know anything about the history of the world from before, from before the unhinging, it's called. That's the calamity that, like, ended the world, right? And so they're like, do you know anything from, are there any legends about this from before the unhinging? And the scholar will be like, it'll take time, but let me look it up. And then, he feeds them information one little bit at a time. And that's kind of how the campaign's going to go. So, I know, Kitty. My cat is on my lap now. So, she decided she wants attention. Until she sees a bird outside, at which point she will jump, and her tail will smack me in the face. And, life will go on. But that's how it always happens. All right. Anywho, cat tails aside. So let's see. So that's kind of what's going on with it. And that's why it's like, and so the history of the giants for this area, I guess I can kind of catch up because we're kind of entering this and we wrote the history of them a while ago. But the history of this giant tribe that they're going to, the giants being the sort of like aggressive survival of the fittest type of society, naturally sort of like mistreats and eventually sort of just through bullying and hazing ends up outcasting any of their runts, right? Any runts of the litter, so to speak. And so they what happened was one of them was like, you know what, screw this, I'm going to make my own giant tribe. As I joked about it last time I talked about it, I'm going to make my own tribe with blackjack and hookers. So he kind of collected up all of the other runts and outcasts that were living among the mountains and created their own society. And their society is one determined to not be like just the barbaric, violent, aggressive society that most giants do. Because they all know what it's like to be an outcast and to sort of be bullied and hazed and all that type of stuff. And they're like, we're going to be different. And it's like, within the lore of my world, it's kind of like, and that's where the Goliaths come from. Because they're like the runts of the giants and stuff like that. It's kind of the loose lore within this world. But I haven't gone into that much detail because I don't know how committed I am to that at the moment. So, at any rate, let's see here. Working on fill a mine with interesting ideas. Okay. With kobolds, how kobolds would outfit an abandoned mine. I mean, I always feel like with kobolds, just incredibly crude traps. Like, just lots of tripwires with, like, falling rocks and things like that is what I always imagine with kobolds. And things that have pretty low checks to try and find, like, pretty low checks for players to try and find, so they can be all like, what the fuck kind of amateurish shit is this? And then it's extra embarrassing when one of them finally does. And, like, the best way to do it, though, is to, like, give the kobolds a bit of cleverness and have it be so, like, there's one that's, like, really obvious, but there's, like, 3 or 4 traps layered on top of it. So players see the tripwire, they're like, oh, well, I see that tripwire, I'm going to hop over it. And then they jump onto a pressure plate that then triggers another trap. And it just makes the players feel stupid. Like, that's always the vibe I get from kobolds, personally. So lots of that. And then, like, for treasure, I always imagine lots and lots of small piles of, like, random gold and, like, gold mingled among random crap. Like, they would get, like, a whole bunch of, like, rotten wooden bucklers, as well as a couple sacks of, like, 20 gold apiece. And they would all be lying there, because, like, all they do is they, like, just steal shit from travelers. Promise players don't need to feel stupid. No, they always need to feel stupid. That's the important thing with players. You want to, because the thing is when you're the DM, like, okay, so the inside scoop is that DMs never really, like, we're always just sort of improvising. Like, that's me. I can plan as much as I want, but there will always be a bunch of stuff that I'm not prepared for. That's why you try to make your players feel stupid with things, so that way they still let you be the one in control of the game. Because as soon as they figure out you don't know what the hell you're doing, you've lost all power as their god within the game. So it's the DM's responsibility to make players just feel helpless and dumb. It's my philosophy anyway, I don't know. This guy's an asshole. Why doesn't anyone play his games? So let's see here. So let's see. When players receive in mountains among the territory for size, they can follow the past pathway fairly easily, though it is overgrown. At some point, though, they will arrive at the mountainous foothills that they need to navigate to find the tribe. Navigate. They need to navigate through is what I want to say here. Through to find the tribe. The dungeon is this navigational. Not navigational. Is this foothill portion of the journey? So that's like what the dungeon's gonna be. Yeah, absolutely, man. You don't ever have to ask about sharing stuff on Discord. If you want to share something on the Discord, throw it up there. I'm trying to. I'm a big scheduling. I'm a very schedule-oriented person. To the point that I literally map out every like half hour of every day of what I'm gonna do. I do it the night beforehand, and I'm trying to start mapping in at least a couple times a week time to spend just on the Discord, looking at the stuff that you guys share, because you guys all share so much stuff, and I feel bad that I'm like always like way behind on checking out the things that you guys post, because people post some really rad shit in there. I love looking through it. So yeah, put it up there, and I will do my best to within the next couple days make some time to go check it out at some point in time. A map is actually pretty easy because I can just go and admire it for a couple minutes. The hard one is when people put like detailed like descriptions and stuff of like homebrew of like different homebrew classes and races and stuff like that, which are always so cool, but oh man, I'm so busy these days. I'm so busy. I wish I wasn't as busy so I could devote more time. But, you know, such is life. Such is life. Let's see here. So that's kind of our thing there. So thematic elements. So we need to add just our thematic elements. And I always put this here just sort of to serve as like a pillar that I can go back to, or a foundation that I can go back to every time I return to this. So that way I don't forget sort of what atmosphere I'm trying to get going there. Hey Gabby, how's it going? I'm doing all right. Having a pretty good day here myself. Finally this morning, one of the reasons I'm in a good mood today, I after my intense kickboxing weekend, I had a training retreat where we did a lot of hard sparring, and I got beat up quite a bit. It was excellent. I loved it. But it left me with one of the biggest Charlie horses I've ever had in one of my legs. You know, my own fault for not defending better. But because of that, I wasn't able to do any of my morning runs for a few days. But this morning, I was able to get a full morning conditioning workout in, and it felt really good to be able to just like actually consistently run and work for a half hour. Well, for a full hour. Run for a half hour and then do stairs for a half hour this morning. So it felt good, and it put me in a good mood. That's for sure. So let's see here. So we need to think about our enemy types here. So these are going to be more foothills. So let me see here. What I want to do here. I'm just going to pull up. Where is it? Challenge. Yeah, so here we go. So our basic enemies are going to be challenge rating 0, 1/8, 1/4, and challenge rating 2 for the boss. This is stuff that I've like based on how I like to have the difficulty in my games go. It's stuff that I've already done. So if you want to follow that model, 100%, it works for me. And so I encourage, if it looks like it'll work for your game, take it. If you look at it and you're like, that seems like the dumbest way to do it, and it wouldn't work for you, then by all means don't do it. There's nothing scientific. It's just me DMing for a lot of years and figuring out what works for the way I do things. But what I want to do here is I'm going to go just to D&D Beyond here, just because it's an easy thing to look at. And we're just going to look at what kind of monsters might be available to us within these environments. And we're going to do hill and mountain, because it's kind of like the foothills of the mountains is kind of where it's going to be plastered here. So I want to do that. Let's do challenge range 0 to ultimately 2. And so let's filter it, and let's just take a look and see what kind of inspiration we get. I kind of have a couple ideas. Let's see here. Cloud Giant Child. That'll be later. That's gonna be later. A lot of the giants are gonna come later. Because that's gonna be the second half of this particular excursion. The first half is getting to the Runt tribe, and then the second half is they're gonna have to navigate through the mountains, like through giant. There she goes. Oh, good. She was kind. My cat did not jump and smack me in the face with her tail. She just kind of gracefully went onto the desk and then left. Look at that. Look at that. But yeah, the second half of this particular leg of the journey is going to be them navigating through giant territory to get where the key actually is. And so that's when things are going to start getting a little more giant heavy in possible enemies. So let's see here. Raven, Vulture, Thorvin, Twinbeard. A whole army of Thorvins. No, let's see here. Young Griffin, Bandit, Bloodhawk. See, I feel like we could actually use the Griffins and stuff like that. That might be a good one. Because I'm thinking foothills of mountains and the type of atmosphere that I want to get going with this one. Because the plains are very much just like standard beasts and stuff like that. And the mountains being kind of the first non-plains environment that players go to, I want that to start feeling a bit more bizarro and dangerous. So I want to go with things like kind of almost like a classic mythology type of thing, but I'm thinking things along the lines of like griffins and harpies and whatnot are going to be a good fit for this area. And so I'm just kind of looking through, though, because sometimes I see something and it gives me better inspiration than what I was initially thinking. Wait, hold on. I need to go back to my consistency and make sure I'm remembering stuff. 1/8, 1/4, and then it jumps to 2 that we need. So for the 1/8, see, like a young Kruthik here, like the Kruthiks might be a little too horrifying. Like that's going to be more of like the Underdark, under the mountains type of thing. Because over the top, because like when they're on top, when they're going over the mountains and through the foothills, over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house. No, when they're going over top there, I want it to still feel a little sane. If that makes any sense. So, and the other thing too is we can always just like find something that offers up the types of attacks and abilities that I'm looking for. We can find a stat block that matches the challenge rating that I need, and then just put a note to reskin it to whatever we need. That's usually the extent of homebrewing. I've dabbled in homebrewing, like from scratch, an enemy, and it's not the worst thing, but it's a lot of work to try and make sure you get the challenge rating balance right, because even as they are in rules as written, it can be kind of wonky, and so it never feels like it's worth the effort to me. It's always better to just be like, yeah, you know what, we'll just take what we can find and do our best with it. So, but I'm thinking here, if I'm looking through all this, I'm thinking like our young griffins, which I love that image. That image is so adorable. We can do something like that around there. I'm thinking poisonous snakes might be a good one. Just a bunch of snakes around the foothills would work. You know, because the other option would be to take, so like we could take, I wonder what we could do. Hold on, let me go back. If we're looking at like our Kokra here, so I actually wanted to just like drop it down there. Like if we do that, so with like, so like this thing, it's kind of flavored to be ice, but we could almost take this, get rid of the Simulacrum ability with like, and talons, javelins, and dive attack, and we can just flavor these guys as harpies if we wanted to. So that's an option. But But I'm trying to remember what actual harpies, what their challenge rating is, because we might run into them here. No, apparently not. So that's an option available to us. A giant owl wouldn't be the worst for around here. Panther, pseudo dragon. Pseudo dragon's not terrible. I don't know though. I don't want to overfill. I don't want to flood this campaign with too many dragons outside of our actual like final boss dragon, just because I want the dragon to still feel like this like really unique thing, you know. Like I feel like the impact of there being a dragon that the players have to face gets worn down if they've already fought a bunch of weaker dragons, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, it desensitizes them to the idea. Like basically I like bosses to feel very boss-like and feel very unique. It just makes it it just helps add that atmosphere of like feeling very very I don't know, like I say, just special, unique, like, you know, like a very checkpoint type of feel. Like, oh yeah, this is the guy that we got to take down, and then they can move on. So here, so now we got more young griffins here. Oh, am I not allowed to look that? Oh, that's right, because I own the Icewind Dale physical book, but I haven't actually bought the D&D Beyond one. But we could do that, so that's an option. I don't know. See, this is the stuff that I spend too much time on. I love doing it, but I definitely spend a little too much time sometimes just hemming and hawing over what type of creatures I want to make my players have to deal with. I mean, we could do like vultures. We could just stick with beasts. I mean, they're still in the foothills. And then as they start getting into actual mountainous travel and stuff like that, then we start adding more, you know, more of the wild things. Because they are still kind of at the foothills. Because it's going to go into the foothills. So they're kind of like, you know, on that first like 4 or 5 stories of height. You know, the first like 50 feet of height within the mountains where this tribe is. They're at the base of the mountain, but it's still kind of in the mountains, which is how we're gonna justify the travel. And I have an idea on how I want to do the map. I think it'll work. But yeah, so we could do like vultures. We could do like vultures for our 0 challenge rating. Go with like bloodhawks and stuff like that. And we could just like have them have to face a bunch of birds. That would be kind of fun. Like that seems kind of foothilly. That would work out okay. Yeah, we could do the. Yeah, I don't know. Like poisonous snake to me just feels kind of boring and uninspiring. I don't know why. Let's see here. Yeah, I like that idea. Do the bloodhawk. The bloodhawk and the eagles, bloodhawks, and then we get to the quarter. What are the winged kobolds' abilities? Sunlight sensitivity, pack tactics, dagger, drop. Yeah, no. I don't know. There's like options here, but none of them are exactly what I'm looking for. I do like the idea of doing the Aarakocra, and just flavoring it to be a version of like a harpy. I do like that idea. I mean, we could do giant owls, but that's an option. But I actually like the idea of there being like the hawks and the eagles around, and there are like some basic harpies that are, you know, there, and they actually almost kind of like control flocks of the eagles and stuff. Now let's look at our challenge rating 2 creatures here and see what kind of boss we have the opportunity to use here. Durgars, that's going to be for later on when they're in the mountains there. Durgars, they made the Durgars just look absolutely horrifying, which I love. Oh, here we go. So we do have a griffin. So we could stick with that idea of doing the young griffins, right? And young griffins and like harpies, and then the boss is like Mama Griffin that they pissed off by killing all of her babies or something. It's an option available to us. What else do we have here? Krell, Mjolnir, Ogre. Yeah, ogres. I want to save like the ogres and stuff for deeper in the mountains. A Pegasus. Could have them fight a Pegasus. I don't know. I always feel bad having people kill a Pegasus, though. I'm too conditioned by the Hercules cartoon to love Pegasi. Let's see here. Yeah, you know what? Okay, so let's stick with the Griffins. Hold on. Do I have access to it? Am I going to need to purchase? Where's that? Where are those young Griffins? Is it page 2 here? Here we go. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to, like, purchase that, which, I mean, it's something that I would usually do, but we don't need to worry about that right now. Because the thing is, like, I have access to it via the books. If I just want to have, like, the convenience of doing it digitally, I'll have to buy it. Like, I already own the Icewind Dale book, which is one of the ones I haven't played Icewind Dale, but I really want to. I really want to one day. I just love the aesthetic of, like, the ice world and stuff. But I like that idea. Let's see here. From just like a visceral standpoint, I'm 100% with you. I like the physical copies. There's something fun about having the book, something satisfying. The problem I run into, though, is when I'm running a game, there is no denying that D&D Beyond is just faster. It's so much faster to be able to go up to the search bar, search up the rule that I'm looking for, search up the monster that I'm looking for, pull it out. And the other thing about it, too, is being able to just take a quick screenshot, because, you can just screen capture the specific element that you want. Firefox makes it super easy to do. Being able to, like, screenshot that and just, like, plop it into my notes somewhere digitally, it's so much faster. It's so much faster, So it's like, I don't know. Like, a part of me really loves the old school. You've got the books. You need to, like, pause everything to search for the information you're looking for. So it's like when we're doing a big all day, because like me and my players, we'll do every once in a while when we can, we'll do big, like, all day in-person sessions, is what we do. And so we'll do that. And when we do that, I like pulling out the books because we can kind of take the time for that. But we play online on Monday evenings for like an hour and a half, and so it's like when we have such little time, I can't waste 20 minutes of that time between looking up different rules and reading up on different spells and stuff like that. I need to have it immediately accessible. I mean, yeah, you can Google search it. It just comes down to preference. And the thing for me is with D&D Beyond, like, and I'm not trying to shill it. I'm not trying to say, like, I don't get paid by them or anything. It's just, like, you don't pay for the information so much as you do the convenience of it all being in one packet. Like, it's all in one place, and, like, you have the campaign tool so I can make my players' characters, and we're using Foundry for our virtual tabletops. We can have their characters within my campaign synced up to the virtual tabletop that we use, so they can pull it all in there, which then has automatic dice rolling online. And it's the most convenient thing, right? It's like it's paying for the convenience. It's kind of like how, yeah, I could save money by changing my own oil in my car, but I like the convenience of having someone do it, so I'm willing to pay the premium of having it there. And it just comes down to preference, it completely comes down to preference. So I would never tell someone that D&D Beyond is an absolute must. If you don't care for it and you don't want to use it, then geez, fuck, save your money, man. Save your money 100%. But for me, it's like, the big thing for me is they do so many deals and they have so many discounts that you can find that I just wait for one of their best discounts, and then I grab whatever I'm missing and whatever I need, and then it's just there. And I can share it with my players, and it makes it easy for them to look up stuff, and it's the most convenient solution I've found. It's the most convenient solution that gives my players confidence, because I have a lot of really new players, and so if it's all on this one, like, official looking website, it makes them feel more confident to, like, explore and try different things and learn different things too. So I don't know, it's the right solution for me. I like it as a tool, but I would certainly never say that, you know, it's an essential thing. No way. No way. The only essential thing is a player's handbook, truthfully. I mean, the Dungeon Master's handbook is helpful, but even that isn't really necessary. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely entitled to your opinion, and I think there are plenty of things to be frustrated about with D&D Beyond. But I find it to be, it's one of the most consistently useful tools for me. Despite some of the frustrations that I have with it, it's one of the most consistently useful tools for me. So I use it. But I don't know. Like I say, I didn't really intend to try and create an ad for it or anything. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not sponsored by anyone. This is all just for fun. But anyways, anywho, what we can do is we can just for now put down in our notes, because I like that aesthetic. I like the aesthetic of using griffins as our main kind of enemies that are around, and then we can add in just some like hawks and stuff. Because between the griffins, we can have like the real little babies, the not quite as small babies, our standard griffin for the boss, which means we just had one other one, and we can just use like the bloodhawks or whatever. And then that can kind of be the enemy type and theme. So, airborne enemies are the most common here. Oops.
So that they're aware of what they're doing and they're making conscious choices.
Airborne enemies are the most common here. Griffins and eagles / hawks are the creatures that will be attacking players. Boom. So there we go. That just gives us our little thematic thing, so that way if I, you know, come back in a couple days or after a week and I'm like, wait, what the hell was I doing in this dungeon? Then I can just look at the thematic elements. The other reason that I take the time to kind of do these clip notes at the top of it is because that makes it easy for me to look at my own notes and take things that I want to use for other campaigns, you know, in the future. If I'm like, oh shoot, I just need some sort of like mountain or like, you know, hill type of dungeon for the sake of traveling and getting to a location, I can search through all my stuff. I can look through this and be like, oh, there we go, that one's got the type of enemies that I'm interested in, and then I can just pluck this out, copy and paste it, and just reflavor a couple things. So that's a lot of the reason why I put these notes here. Current boss of the dungeon, we're gonna say, what are you doing to me? Why are you doing this? Why are you giving me ads? Windows, don't do this crap to me. Don't you do this to me, Windows. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. What was I saying? Completely interrupted my train of thought. Windows, you piece of poop. Oh yeah. Mama Griffin is the boss here. She's mad that players are killing her babies. There we go. Alright, treasure and reward type. So for this one, I really kind of just want this to be discarded items by travelers of the ancient past, or giants more recently. So it's just going to be like lost items and stuff like that. So there's going to be the theme of like the treasure is going to be things you could find on a mountaineer. You know, like that's the type of stuff that will be around there. Because like in some dungeons, like once we get to the Underdark dungeons, we're gonna go ahead and put like lots of gems and stuff. Or not, I shouldn't say Underdark. Like once we're inside the mountains, that was previously a dwarven society. There'll be a lot of like, you know, a lot more things along the lines of gemstones and jewel encrusted treasures and stuff like that, whereas this one it's like, no, there's pretty much just like travelers stuff. So we'll do that. Puzzle and trap themes. So now this one, the thought that I have, because they're kind of starting to travel up the mountains, puzzles and traps will be natural barriers that disrupt travel between plateaus, and we'll put in parentheses rock slides, steep walls, and etc. So things like that. So it's like they're not going to be explicit traps per se. It's going to be more like, okay, if you want to get through this pass and get to the next area, you're either going to have to take the long way around, or you're going to have to deal with, this like steep thing that's got, some what looks like to be some loose rocks, or you're going to have to just flat out climb this wall and do some rock climbing. Is sort of the idea that I have for how the traps and stuff are going to be. And then any other atmospheric notes, I don't think we need to do anything else. I mean, if we wanted to add difficulty, we could make it raining so that like there's more likely to be mudslides and stuff like that. But I don't think we need to do that. Okay, so now talking about primary tasks. So this is just a place to put down any notes that I need to put in regarding what they're trying to accomplish via the story. And so for this one, the important thing is that players make it from one end to the next, as the other side of this dangerous region is where the giants are. I think that's really all that we need to do. That's what the task is. Like, in some dungeons, they might be, with some of them it'll be, oh yeah, they're definitely trying to find the key here. They're not done until they find the key. Or there might be some where it's like, they're trying to activate this one thing so that when they go back to the city, this thing is available. Or, things like that. Things like that. Like, at one point in time, they're going to be imprisoned by the Duergar. It's going to be kind of a scripted event of this campaign. And so it's like the primary task is going to be to, escape from prison, or like cut a deal to get themselves out of prison. Like that'll be their main task, So it's like there's usually not a lot to put there, but it's always good to have a note there again, so that way we can refer back to it as we're writing or as we're DMing the campaign to keep ourselves on track. Because if you're anything like me, it's really easy for you to accidentally yes and your way away from what you were originally trying to accomplish. I've done that plenty of times before. So I'm just going to put that right there and call that good. So now villains and allies here. This is where we kind of put down main characters, or like enemies. There's no explanation there. It's where we put our villains and allies. Obvi. So for our villains, we actually don't really need to do a whole lot, because there's no like sentient, like this isn't a lair with a sentient enemy. There's just a bunch of like wildlife creatures and monsters that are along the pathway that players need to deal with. So here's where we're going to go ahead and put our I'm gonna come up here. We're gonna take our challenges here. We're just gonna grab this and then copy and paste it just to save myself some typing. Truth be told, it's 100% because I'm lazy. I'm willing to admit that. So actually, no, that doesn't really help with the format that I like to put these things here. So let's see here. So actually, what we'll do, I guess we will leave that. So for our main fodder here, we wanted to go with our young griffin, the tiny variety here. That's what I'm going to utilize. Young griffin. Tiny variety. So we'll do that. And then they are worth 10 XP. And there's no other flavor, text, or changes we need to make for those guys. So that one's good as it is. Our 1/8 difficulty, I think I'm going to stick with the Bloodhawk. I think that's going to be the final answer there. Have it be very like aerial wing-based type of enemies. Give them like a consistent theme that they have to try and navigate and handle. So yeah, so we're gonna go with our Bloodhawks, and they'll be 25 XP. So for this guy, we'll do Bloodhawk, and that'll be boom boom 25 XP. There we go. And then our next ones were going to be our young griffins, the next size up. Young griffon, Very thematic, lots of griffins, but that'll make it really easy to balance our battles however we need to. They were our 1/4s. Where are they? It's going to be on our next page here, isn't it? There we go. Young griffins, small. And these guys should be, what, 50 XP, right? Yeah, 1/4. All the quarters are the same. Yeah, 50 XP. Young griffins, small variety. That'll be 50 XP. And then our last one, our main boss of the area, is going to be our standard griffin. Just go here. It'll be quicker to get there if we go boom and then boom. Boom, our griffin. Standard one, they're worth 450 XP. Excellent. I dig it. And then just a griffon. 450 XP. There we go. Perfect. Allies. So this one's just going to be left blank. There's not going to be any allies to be found in this particular dungeon here. So, you know, great. That makes it easy. So now, this is our level 2 dungeon, right? And so there are going to be 2 sets of rooms for it, the way I do mine. I'm very much into dungeon crawl, mega dungeon type of design here. And there's all kinds of reasons that I choose to do it, but really what it kind of comes down to is the way I guide my games and the way that my players like the games to be run. This is how I do it. There are many games in which my dungeons will be far too big and intense. Truthfully, there'll be just too much stuff and players will feel like they're spending forever in a single dungeon to be able to progress. But for me, I like that. I like dungeons to feel like they're really growing as they go, and by doing extra room sets, because really what led me to doing it the way that I do is by adding an extra set of rooms per level, it makes player progression feel like they're really earning the ability to handle more. Because one thing that I always find is if every dungeon is roughly the same size and you make enemies tougher to match how players are getting better, if that's all you do, every dungeon feels as dangerous as the next. And to me, that almost kind of takes away some of the sense of progress and growth. Whereas if we do multiple levels, multiple sets of rooms per level, then it's like, okay, this first set is going to be really easy. And that gives the players, at a higher level, as they're going higher, it gives them the chance to feel like, oh yeah, we've accomplished some stuff, and there are things that are now much easier for us to handle. But then as they get deeper, they're like, oh, but there's still a lot of stuff, and there's still challenge here. It's a good thing we didn't try to do this one too early before we were ready. So you can just if you do it that way, I find it gives players a real sense of satisfaction. As well as, if you do that, by the time you get to level 10, if there's 10 sets of rooms, like basically 10 levels to a dungeon that they get to, by the time you get to level 10, they really feel like, oh my goodness, like we are really adventurers. We're really getting into the weeds at this point in time. And it gives them that sort of sense of like growing intensity, growing danger, ramping up intensity of the stuff that they're doing. And so for the way I lead games and for what my players like, that really works for them. That might not be for everyone. The other thing that helps is we play weekly. So a dungeon that takes, if a dungeon takes 8 gaming hours to get through, for us, that might be, only a month of work, which is like, that's, that still feels like pretty good progress, all things considered. Whereas if you only play once a month with your players for 4 hours, suddenly you're talking about multiple months to get through something. So it's going to be a little different. So I just say that to kind of give people a heads up. Take the way I do things with a grain of salt. I do stand by it as being a good way to do things, but it's not the only way. And you're really going to need to, as a DM, you're going to want to pay attention to, how you're setting things up, So, anyways, so we have our enemies here. I want to, oops, no, hold on. Okay, let's undo that. let's see here. Why are you being goofy to me? And then I want this all to just be bullet points. That had to be bullet points. Hold on, you're not a bullet point. No, you stop. There we go. All right. The skill checks also just a little note there so for our consistency or stuff here. Easy 10. We're still at the 10, 11, 12 progression there. Those are definitely very easy checks for players to make, but keep in mind they're only supposed to be level 2 when they get to this point. So, hey Zelman, how's it going? Glad to see you here. Let's see here. So we're gonna go here. So 10, 11, and 12. So there we go. So there's our challenge ratings and stuff here. So now, what we need to do is we're gonna have 2 sets of things here. Twitch surfing while working. Hey, that's, you know, honestly, having some good background noise is one of the most important things to surviving a workday for me. I feel you completely there. So let's see. We're gonna just copy this here. Copy all that, so that way we can go and paste that there. So we got our 2 room sets. Map details. Room set. We'll use that T again. Room set 1. And then map details. Room set 2. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to break up the experience points. Now, this is something that is very much specified to how I like to design dungeons and how I run my games and what my players like. There's a lot of math involved to how I break up what levels of challenge, what types of enemies players are going to find, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of math involved here, and I will try to explain it. It may be confusing. You may look at it and be just disgusted because it's not even close to how you would design a dungeon. That is 100% okay. And I am 100% willing to recognize that this might be an approach to things that is just terrible for some people. That's one of the most important things you can do. And if you're a DM and you're looking at it and that's exactly how you feel, I give you a thumbs up because that means you're an attentive DM who knows how you like to run games and how your players like your games run. So, just disclaimer right there. Disclaimer right there. So, the way I do things, first off, I need to look up and make sure I remember. Let's see here. D&D level up here. We're just going to do that and see our level progression here. It doesn't really matter. So to get from level 2 to level 3, players will need 600 experience points. I really do this in a math-based way, which I am fully aware means that maybe I should be running Pathfinder instead of D&D, but D&D has much more stuff and is much more user-friendly for new players, so I like to stick with it for that reason, so that way new players can feel a little less intimidated by things. So, 600 experience points total. I'm just going to keep a little notes thing off to the side here. 600 XP total in dungeon. My intent always... Dungeon. My intent always is when a dungeon is designed for a specific level, you know, when it's designed for, you know, in this situation level 2, the intent is if players take care of everything that's in that dungeon, they will definitely level up, you know, is what the intent is. So thank you, alarm. Sorry, hold on. Personal life stuff, gotta take care of it super quick. I just gotta be attentive to responding and activating certain things and okay, there we go. Sorry. All right. So, I always make sure that players can get through a dungeon and have leveled up. So, we need 600 XP total here, and the way I math it out is there are 2 sets. So, set 1 is worth 1 portion of it, and set 2 is worth 2 portions of it. So basically we divide it by 3. Set 1 is going to have 200 XP. Set 2 is going to have 400 XP available to it. is how I do things. So we'll say what we're going to do now is we're going to add bullets here. So set 1 has 200 XP, and we're going to be a little loose with this. Some of you might have already noticed, wait, how do we do that then if our Griffin is worth 450 XP? We just give him extra XP in the end of it. No big deal. give him 100 XP and it'll be great. And then set 2 will have 400 XP. There we go. So yeah, lane time, Steam, you've been caught off guard. Party asked you composition of the ground, materials, density of the soil. So they wanted to dig a bunker in an unexplored island. I have been caught off guard many times by my players, which I absolutely love. I love when my players are creative enough to throw a curveball at me and have me have to stop and assess and reconsider things. I absolutely love when players do that, and it's it's one of my favorite parts about DMing is being able to exercise that yes and approach to things. I absolutely love doing that. Absolutely love doing that. So, but that does sound creative that your players want to dig a bunker and stuff like that. I just love the idea of them wanting to do that. I can think of a million reasons that it would be amazing for them to dig a bunker. That's excellent. But yeah, so let's see here. So, room set 1 is going to have 2 experience total available to be found in it, and then set 2 is going to have 400 experience, which basically just means there's going to be easier battles to handle in here and tougher ones to handle in here. So then what we need to do is now we need to break it up. So within our dungeons here, let's see here. Do I have it on this? I don't have it written exactly on here. But I do have it written down somewhere. I think I put it in. No, I didn't put it there. It wasn't in there. Where did I put it? I put it in here. Here we go. So here's where things get really mathy. This is me writing it out from my own notes. So that's our thing. So now for the layers, for level 1, for room set 1, we're gonna break that 200 experience into 13ths, and for the boss level, we're gonna break it into 14ths. And that's because there will be 3 easy battles that'll each be worth either 1/13th or 1/14th of the total experience within that dungeon. There will be 2 medium battles worth 2/13ths or 2/14ths. There will be 1 hard battle. So in the boss layer of levels, there will be 1 hard that has 3/14ths, and then within the non-boss level, there will be 2 of those that have 3/13ths. And then the last one, the boss battle, will be worth 4/14ths of the total XP. Now, obviously, we're going to play pretty fast and loose with that. Players are going to get a lot of extra XP. It's fine. It's fine. It's all just kind of ballparking it. Because the other thing about it, too, is as I'm going, I will have to change things on the fly regardless. So, we have here, so we have easy equals, so each of those are worth 1/13th of 200 experience points, which I don't feel like doing in my head right now. So I'm just going to do it on a calculator on my phone. 200 divided by 13. So there'll be 3 easy battles. So we'll do 3 easy battles worth 15 XP approximately. And so basically what it'll be is they'll just face a couple young Griffins. And like I say, I like this because they are going to have no problem running through that. And that's going to be great for players, especially at level 2, if you have a bunch of new players. Because the dungeon number 1, they're going to feel out of their element at level 1. They're going to be fighting things that they're going to be like, oh, geez, oh my god, we're dying, because especially if they're brand new players, they're going to be like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm supposed to handle this situation. We're dying, we're in trouble. But they'll persevere, they'll get through it, they'll level up to level 2. Then they'll find themselves in this one. Suddenly, they're in an environment where they're going to feel like, oh, geez, now we're running ham. Okay, good, we're starting to get the hang of this. And then they'll get to the second set of rooms, and it'll start feeling a lot more difficult for them. And they'll be like, oh, okay, but we're not actually that badass yet. And so it kind of gives them that sense of like, okay, we have progressed, but there's still challenge to be had here. So we'll keep going here, and let's just kind of pre-plan everything out. So that now there's going to be two medium battles. Or 2 medium. We'll just do it that way. 2 medium. Each of these are going to be worth 30 XP because they're both worth 2 13s. 30 XP. And then now in this situation, there's going to be 2. Was it? Wait, am I forgetting? I'm forgetting a level there, aren't I? Hold up. Forgetting my own crap that I wrote down. No, I did have it right. I was thinking of the boss level, that there's going to be the deadly scenario. So, yes. So there's going to be 2 hard battles worth, and so those are worth 3 13s, so those are going to each be worth 45 XP apiece. So in this first room set, there's just going to pretty much be lots of the young griffins and bloodhawks. That's like all they're going to encounter. And so they're going to be like, oh, that's great. But then they're going to get to the more difficult ones, and suddenly they're going to start seeing a lot of these like griffins and young griffins that are accessible there. So now, 3 easy, and now we got to divide by 14 for everything because we're adding. And the reason, the math behind that, the reason that ends up happening is because we want the deadly to be worth more experience and, in other words, be a tougher battle than even the hard one. So we have to break it up more so that we have more parts to give to that deadly one. So let's see. So we got to divide 400 by 14. So it's 28.5. So we're just going to round up to 30 XP. They'll get a handful of extra XP, and that's fine. So we do that, and then there's going to be 2 mediums, and those are going to be, since it's worth 2 14s, those are going to be worth 60 XP. Then there's going to be 1 hard battle, and that'll be worth 90 XP. And then there's going to be the 1x boss battle, and that's 1x box battle, 1x boss battle, and that's going to be worth, and we're just going to say 120 plus. They're clearly going to be getting a lot more than that because our boss is our griffin there. And so that's kind of how it maths out, especially for these early levels. But like I say, the way I run my games, that's the best way to do it. Plus, the other thing about it too, and this is something that I think about a lot, by breaking up the experience into smaller bite-sized chunks for them to achieve as they're going, when you break it up this way, it makes it a lot easier. Like, what am I trying to say? How do I want to say this? It makes it a lot easier to entice them to keep going rather than just constantly long rest all the time. Because I've had a lot of games where, not a lot of games, I've had it happen in the past with some groups and players where they kind of realize that as long as there's not an overarching time limit on the campaign, within the game time frame, if there's not an overarching time limit, if they're not trying to get something done within a certain amount of in-game days, they just kind of long rest spam. And they tend to like, oh, wow, that was kind of a tough battle. All right, let's take a long rest. And they do that every time without realizing without ever getting into a situation where they're in over their head. And so by doing small little bites like that, you can kind of trick them into using up resources slowly and letting their health sort of trickle down until suddenly they realize, like, oh, shoot, wait, we're fighting some tough enemies, and we're kind of in trouble here. Like, oh dear, we didn't really think this through. And so suddenly, like, oh, you're much more likely to entice them to accidentally actually face some adversity, despite things being easier up front in appearance. So that's just something I've noticed. And so that's the principle there. So this is going to be our experience point breakdown, and this is how we're going to, when we're organizing and filling out our rooms and everything, that's how we're going to be able to break everything up, and like be able to easily, quickly map out what enemies are within different rooms for them to have to face. So we're almost at the point now where I need to make the dungeon, but I'm going to very quickly just handle our long rest things, because we can use these as well. So half enemies regenerate, so there's a 50% chance of that happening. And so I always have them roll a d10, And this is if they long rest in a place that they can't fortify. That's the other way that I make sure they don't just spam long rests, is I make it so that within a dungeon there's a room, like a specific room that like I will describe as being a place that can be easily fortified, so that way they can actually have a long rest without any risk. But then if they decide that they really need a long rest somewhere else, they can, but they have to roll on the D10, and that will impact the dungeon around them, so that there will still be most likely some sort of challenge or adversity that will be added to the dungeon if they choose to do that. So there could be half of the enemies get regenerated, so there's a 20% chance of wandering monsters, and so we're just going to do, just so I remember, I'm just going to quickly go bop, bop, like that, and then we're just going to, so these guys, I like to set them to the medium difficulty. So in room set 1, that means there's going to be 30 XP for them. So wandering monsters. So in this one, we'll say 3 of the tiny young griffins here. Boom. And then for this next one, we've got 30 XP. We're going to do 1 of the young griffins, and then 1 of and then 1 bloodhawk. We'll put them together. Not really a clear reason why they would be wandering the hills together, but you know, whatever. Maybe they just both conveniently decided to attack the players at the same time. I don't know, like whatever. It's an imaginary magical land. We can kind of do whatever we want and just hand wave it away. So we'll do that. There's a 20% chance of an uneventful night here, so we're just gonna go ahead and copy that, paste it there, and then we'll just take away the 10% thing. And then we've got divine intervention. So one thing I like to incorporate for my players is I have them all tell me what deity their character would be interested in, or if their character doesn't have a deity, I pick one based on how they're playing their character, and I will use that as a way to drive their sort of personal goals, as well as an opportunity to give them nudges in the direction I want them to be heading. A little bit railroady to do it that way, so I try to not rely on that. But if they're just like way out in left field, just doing a whole bunch of shit that's really not progressing the story that I've set out, I'll use that as an opportunity. So there's our so there's our room set 1, and actually just to save myself some time here, because most of it is the same, we're just going to copy that, and now we're going to go down to our set 2 and do it there, and it's largely going to be the same. Gosh dang it. Okay, tab all this crap. This format's weird. There we go. Alright, so we're going to do that, but then now for these things, we have to benchmark them for our set 2 here. So our mediums are going to be worth 60 XP now. So we need to, where am I? Oh, here's where I need to go. So we could just do 6 of the young griffins. In fact, I'm going to do that for one of the wanderings. Wait, why did I delete it all? Why would I do this? We can just do 6 of those there, and then we're going to keep the 1 young griffin, and we'll do 2 of the bloodhawks to make 60 there. Doesn't really matter. We're just trying to preemptively, like, if you make this stuff ahead of time, then when you're running the session and suddenly they're in that scenario, you don't have to sit there and do math and think about how much of a challenge. You can just be like, all right, they rolled a 7. That means these things are attacking them while they try to long rest. You know, and so that gives the combat, and it disrupts their long rest too, which is a real depressing thing for players, but I love doing that to them. So there's that. So there's all of that. We've got our little notes about all the experience and stuff like that, and we will start mapping all this stuff out, and that'll be good. So we got 15 minutes left in our writing stream today. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to have us start mapping out our different levels, our different sets of rooms here. I think we can probably get our just rough outline done. So we're just going to start a new template. We're not going to do the map wizard for it. There's no need for that. I always do the 36 by 24 because when I do play in person with my players, that's the size of the battle map. It's a 36 by 24 inch poster that I have. I basically just bought one of them cheapo plastic poster frames, and I used a big white sheet of paper that I drew, like on the piece of paper, I drew inch by inch grids there, and then I just put the plastic cover over it so that way I can just use like dry erase or wet erase markers, usually actually wet erase, so that way we don't accidentally rub it off with our hands when we're moving pieces around and stuff on there. But I always just use one of those. And so that's why I keep all my maps there, just so that way I can easily transfer them either in person or online. And it also helps make me, it helps keep me restrained in the size of rooms, because I have the tendency to get a little too grand with my dungeons and want to make these big, huge things that like end up being things that would be like everything would be an entire mansion as opposed to maybe just a small cave or something like that. So this helps keep me penned in a little bit there. So we're gonna do that, and also we need to do, so what we're gonna do with this one actually is going to be it's actually a linear dungeon, because we're gonna start them off over here and they finish and they have to get up there, right? And then the next one they'll start up there and then maybe have to go there, or like maybe it'll bring them back in over there and they'll go there. Either way, it's like one set after the other, where it's like they have to get there and then get to the next one, because then at the end the giants are there, so they have to navigate through there. So that's really how it's going to be. But how I want to do this, so I've explained it before. They have this nice little cave brush, which is nice because it will make, like, if you're doing something kind of like the like this like if you're doing something kind of along the lines of like a more of a mountain pass type thing, it's nice. It makes it look a bit more natural. The problem is, well, there's kind of two problems. One, it messes with the lighting a little bit, and two, within the program, at least I've noticed, it tends to make the program a little unstable, so it tends to crash. So I just go ahead and do, I always do like the stone. So we got smart stone. Hey, welcome back. So we got smart stone there, or we can do, is this the one that's like cave? Yeah, we can do cave floor, large concrete blocks. I don't really like doing that one. Concrete slab. They've got a whole bunch of different options there. Most of these are a little too manufactured, so usually I'll just do the cave floor or the smart stone. We'll do smart stone. One thing I do want to do really quickly, I want to go to our terrain brush here, and we're gonna do mountain terrain here. Yeah, see, so there we got terrain. So there's our like foothills and stuff, which is perfect. And so what we could do with this one, honestly, what would be kind of a fun way to do this one is, rather than doing rooms and everything, we could just do our terrain brush. And we could do like, you know, like, and following the stone, and just have the stone be like the rooms, but they could do whatever. The problem is with that one, like what could be considered a problem is doing it that way might feel like almost giving the players too much freedom, but I'm going to experiment with it. I want to try it. And so we're just going to put down some random quote-unquote rooms here, and we'll connect them. Right? And so we're going to just put down, and what these are going to be, my idea is that these are going to be, I want this bigger just to make it quicker. These are going to be different little plateaus, and they're going to be climbing in elevation as they go. So we need 10 total here. 6. Maybe we'll make a plateau that's like that. 7. 8. Do 9 right there. And then 10 like that. So you do that, and then let's just kind of connect some of these up in some odd random ways here. Right, you just kind of connect it all. Give them a couple different potential pathways that they could follow. Could do that maybe. And maybe do that way like that. So there's our rough map there. And we can just go ahead and do, so I always do, turn the text box on. Font size 2 like that. So, and we're just going to number them. It's largely irrelevant which room is which. We just need to label them so that way we can, when we're writing down our notes within one note about what's in each room, we know which room we're talking about at any given time. So we can do that. That's 6. Make this one 7. 8. 9. 10. There we go. I did just realize I need to do one more thing here. Terrain brush there. So that's how they start. So it's going to be all kind of open and stuff like that. And what we can do, I think what we can do here. Yeah, what we'll do, so there's going to be rooms. So the way I like to do my rooms also, I'm making this campaign. I have a couple different ways that I'll go about designing campaigns. And for this one, I kind of felt like doing a very Legend of Zelda style to it. So every dungeon has, like every set of rooms will have like keys and locked doors that players need to get through, as well as there being like a compass and a map of some sort. I get very creative and loose in using those terms, but that's just a way to make sure that like you can kind of incorporate naturally puzzles and blocks and things like that, you know, ways to block things. And so what I like to do is, so like you kind of come up with a creative way to do that. And so what I'm thinking we can do, and actually, yeah, so what we can do is like, you know, do the rocky terrain for some of these things. And what it is like that's a very difficult terrain to go over because it's like a steep pathway with loose stones is the way we can kind of do it. And then the item is going to be some sort of like climbing gear, you know, like, you know, a grappling hook that they can use to kind of climb up and get past these areas. You know, and that'll kind of simulate the idea that they're climbing and stuff like that. It's not the most elegant appearance of dungeon that I've ever done. But, you know, we're kind of getting creative here. We're getting creative and experimental with some things. So I think it's going to be fun, honestly. I think it'll end up being kind of fun. So there's one. I do want to take the terrain there and continue on. And I'm going to put one other little text thing here. I'm going to say, we're going to say, higher, hold on, I need to move this. No, grab the thing. Why are you not? Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, because it needs me to do the move tool. So, and then we go to the edit thing here. And actually what we're going to do is we're just going to say next. And we'll just save it like that. And that's fine. Just more a little note there. It's okay that players know that's where the next one is. Their characters. I want this one to be one actually where players can largely see and know where they're going. The difficult part is that things are uphill as they're going, so they can't necessarily see what's in each room. You know, and that's kind of what gives it that sort of sense of like, oh geez, what do we do? So like rather than, you know, like going up to the next room and like you know, going to the door and peeking it open a crack and trying to sneak it that way, the sneak is trying to like carefully and quietly work their way up the hill so that they can try and see what's going to be on the next plateau before they like, you know, get up and be perfectly obvious, you know. So if there's like a mount or a cliff that they're climbing, they can climb up and peek over the edge and stuff like that, you know. So you just kind of get creative where it's like functionally it does the same thing, right, as doors and rooms and walls, but the flavor of it is different, and that's what keeps things fresh for players. So what we're going to do for this, and this is one of the things that I love about this tool, is we can just add a new level here. So I'm going to call this one upper, and we're not going to clone, we're just going to do that, and I'm going to, it doesn't really matter the order because I saved them. We're going to call that one the lower level. You know, and so you can bounce between them. So upper and lower, and so that just makes it a bit easier to, let's see here. So, oh no, we don't want camp. We need to go to here. Terrain brush. We need this to be mountain terrain. Why isn't it? So now here's the question. Why is it not doing this? Why is it not giving us our? Well, I guess we can just. Oh, there we go. That's why we need to just enable that. There we go. Ha! There we go. So yeah, so we can just kind of do our different levels here. And so the next one is going to be, you know, we do need to do our next set of rooms. I'm just kind of rushing through this. We're not adding any detail right now because I've got 5 minutes left on the writing stream, and I want to try and get ourselves like a general map here made. And those are already kind of connected, but that's perfect. That actually works just fine. So that's 4. Right, we just kind of go 5. Let's do like a nice long wide one. 6. There's a smaller one. 7. Nice little kidney shaped one. 8. Another smaller one. 9. And then 10. Maybe we just make this one like a nice really long one here. Alright, and so now we just find some fun ways to connect all of these up here. You can do that and that. Maybe like that and that. Sure, why not? Connect that way and connect that way. So yeah, there we go. And so now let's go ahead and get our stuff. So as you can see, I don't spend a whole lot of time focusing too intently on planning dungeons in specific ways, planning floor plans in specific ways. There are times when I will, but I find that for me, making the dungeons is most fun if I just kind of let it be a randomized process. It's a better exercise in creativity, I find. That's just my personal preference, really. 6, 7, 8. Let's see, that's 6. So then it'd be like 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yeah, that'll work. 7, 8. Yeah, because that's going to be one thing. And we'll go ahead and do... whoops, that's 9. That one is supposed to be 8. There it is. And I'll put one right there and do that one as 10. So there's our room. And then I did it again. We need to go to our terrain brush. So it starts off there, finishes off going that direction there. And then we'll just go ahead and do text box. We'll say, we're going to go ahead and say tribe, right? So that's like, takes them to basically a little overlook that'll overlook, in my mind, it'll overlook a valley so that they're looking down into where the tribe is. So they're just going to kind of appear there. And we're going to go ahead and for that say lower. So there we go. So there's our dungeon layout. And that's perfect. That's actually really perfect. That's exactly, and that pretty much gives us the exact time. So I'm just going to quickly save this bad boy here. We're going to call this Journey to Tribe for the name of the dungeon here. And I'm just going to save this in my own little system where I like to save things. Say that. There we go. All right, there we go. So now we've really got the framework done for this dungeon. So now it's just a matter of filling all the rooms and kind of creating a fun, challenging dungeon. So I'm stoked about the amount of progress we made. I feel like we did make some really good progress here. And I'm really happy about that. I think that's great. I think that's really great. But yeah, and I think that's a really good place to stop. I think we made some really good progress. I dig it. I love it. It's good stuff. Hell yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna take. I'm not done streaming for the day. I'm just done writing for the day. So I'm going to take like a 15-minute break. I always say 15 minutes. It always ends up being like more like 20 minutes. One of these days I'll actually stick to a 15-minute break. But I'm going to take a little break. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to start my video game stream for the day. We're playing Mass Effect 3 right now. And so we'll do that for a couple hours this afternoon as well. So that's what's coming up here. But if you want to stick around for that, by all means, if you want to go check something else out and then come back, I'll be playing. I usually try to play Mass Effect until about my time. It's like 3:30, which means it'll be about 2 hours that I'm playing. So if you want to come back later, you can do that. Or if you're just not interested in that, that is 100% acceptable and fine as well. I am not at all offended by that. I just enjoy playing video games, and I know some people like watching that, and some people are just here for the D&D stuff. And either way, I appreciate the viewership. I really appreciate that people like coming here and sharing ideas and seeing what I'm working on. It's really flattering to me that people are interested in that. I have so much fun with it. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, for joining me. I do have a Discord. If you would like to join that, as we kind of were talking about with some people earlier on, I have a Discord and kind of building a community of people where we'll share homebrew ideas, share different things that's going on in our campaigns and stuff like that. Different writing projects people are working on. It's great fun. I love it. And I'm trying to be better about being more active in that because you guys just have so much cool stuff. And as busy as I am, I want to add in time to enjoy the stuff you guys are making. So feel free to join that if you are interested. I do also have all of my backlog of videos. I don't advertise this very well. I have all of my backlog of VODs of all of my writing stuff on my YouTube channel. You can find the link to that on my Twitch channel here. You can find the link to that. It's very disorganized and not well maintained, my YouTube channel, but I do put all the videos on there. So if you want to just like go back and see other stuff I've worked on, feel free to do that. It's not indexed well. It's sloppy. It's unprofessional, but it's there. So yeah, I think that's all the plugs I've got. That's all the self-advertisement I've got. So again, thank you so much everyone for joining me. I'll be back in about 15 minutes. So if you want to, sit tight. If not, take care of yourself, and I'm stoked to see you next time. I will be streaming tomorrow. Yes, I should also say that. I will be streaming tomorrow, Friday. There's nothing, as far as I can tell, on my schedule to get in the way of that. So writing will be at the same time tomorrow. So feel free to come back then if that's what you're interested in. Other than that, take care of yourselves, and I will be back in a little bit. So sit tight, or I'll see you tomorrow. Either way, I appreciate each and every one of you. All right, bye now.